Today, we're going to be talking about my F-150. This is about a year later after I've had it in ownership. I put just under, I want to say 10,000 miles on it. I've had it since June of, I think, 2018, maybe July. It might have been August. I'm not for sure. I'll go back and look. You can see some dents. Originally, this rust wasn't there. I'd kind of like to try to get that fixed. But for now, I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to do that. The cab corners have gotten worse. As you can see here, the front cab corners and the rear cab corners are getting worse. You can get those fixed. Let's see here. Everything inside here is actually decent, which is a surprise, and it's like that on both sides. One thing about these trucks is that the door handle is plastic, and if you crank it hard enough, you'll break it right off. I've actually gone through about 2 or 3 of these, and I'm switching to the all metal here in a little bit. Luckily, I have power mirrors and windows so that I can roll the window down and get the door open. So my truck has the 5-liter 302 V8 and a E4OD automatic transmission. The overdrive works pretty well, and it still rolls through gears like nobody's business. In the back, I actually have to replace the shocks because they are shot, and the leaf springs are actually 4-to-1s instead of 3-to-1s. So they're the equivalent of a F-250 rear suspension somewhat onto the F-150. But yeah, as you can see, these shocks definitely need replaced. I have not gotten around to it because it's not that it takes time. It's just that I've been busy, and I'm just gonna let it go until it needs to be fixed. And I mean, that's just how it's gonna be. That's what you can do with these old trucks, and that's the best part about it. No matter how many dinks and dents, it's still gonna run really well. As long as you've got tires for it to roll on, it'll keep rolling. One of the things on these trucks that I'm not sure if it's a common issue or not, but I suppose the hood latch gets stuck, and mine got stuck and ended up coming up. It didn't hit the window or anything like that. I was fortunate enough to be able to stop before it completely ripped off the hangers, but it did bend it quite a bit. And in my frustration, I tried hitting it with a hammer, and now look at my poor hood. So lesson to you, if you ever try fixing it like that, do not smack the hell out of your hood, because it won't help you in the long run. So that should be a very helpful tip for anybody wondering. So actually, now that I think about it, the rear suspension was not the only suspension components that were upgraded. I actually put new shocks, shock mounts, and coil springs in the front suspension, and I only did that because, well, it needed them. Let me tell you that. It definitely needed them. Now we're going to switch to the interior, and hopefully it can give you a good idea of what you're looking for and what you're going to be looking at with these trucks. My truck is the bench seats, front and back. It's not console seats, so just keep that in mind. Here from the driver's side, starting from the door all the way down. It's dirty, it's got stains. It is a work truck, it does get used. But, you know, when I sat down in the truck the very first time, it's actually really comfortable. I'll sit down here and turn the key over. It's got fully functional climate control. I added this in because if I have people here in the truck that need their phone charged, we can run a bunch of different cables, and I can run my phone charger and emergency lights if need be. Aftermarket Pioneer head unit, which I'm going to be replacing with a Kenwood here soon. None of the speakers are stock because they're old. They got the job done pretty well, actually, but because the head unit is aftermarket, the speakers could not keep up, and I actually ended up blowing them up. So it's not the speaker's fault. It's just that I don't know what I'm doing. And I guess that's the front for you. Headliner's still pretty decent. And then this is a little messed up, but I can get a new one of those for cheap. I've never used one of these before, so there we go. It's Velcro. That's interesting. So yeah, there's the front for you. Originally, when I was going to do the back seat footage, the plan was to remove all of the trash, all of the whatever. But since I don't have any decomposing bodies or, heroin or anything back here, I figured to just leave it there. It's just a couple water bottles. And the whole point of leaving the stuff in here is to show you the amount of room you have, even if the bench seat, which mine is, keep in mind, you pushed all the way back. I can keep my bows in there, my tools. I can even keep my baby wipes in case I need to get some tar off me. Because of the position I work in at work. And, it's just pretty nice to have all of this room to keep the stuff that you may or may not need. Who knows when you will need a compound bow? Who knows when you'll need your hat or your packer's jacket? The thing that I forgot to mention, actually, is that with these trucks, I don't remember entirely what year. I want to say that it started in 86. It might have been. The 302 to 460, and I even the 7.3s I think did it, and the 6.9s might have done it as well, but the exhaust manifold, the exhaust headers, manifolds, whatever you want to call them, the bolts start to get square, and they will emit a very nasty noise that kind of sounds like it's just puffing a bunch of air, and if you live in an area where your exhaust is old and outdated, eventually it'll start to sound like this. And that's only loud because I actually hit a pothole and the entire exhaust fell off. So right now it's running on one pipe from the driver's side and passenger side headers, and it's as straight pipe as it can get. It is loud, it grumbles a lot. Once it calms down here, finally coming down off high idle. And if you can't hear that kind of, you can hear it tipping and tapping. A lot of people think that it's a lot of people think that sometimes it might be a lifter collapsing, but just take a listen. At first, when I first bought the truck, I started it and I heard it clicking like that, and I was like, oh no, I did not just pay $500 for something with engine problems. And it turns out, no, it's just because the headers are super old, and a truck like this, really, to put a whole exhaust on it, it just ain't worth it. I'll just let it run like shit and probably replace it with some Dormans. Both tanks still work though. That just kind of reminded me that both tanks do still work. I've replaced everything with Motorcraft parts because that's the only way to go. As I say that, I'm going to replace the manifolds with Dormans. I don't think Motorcraft made those exhaust manifolds. It's got a drop-in bed liner. It had a spray-in from what it looks like, but then the previous owner was like, "Oh, hey, look, my bed liner is coming apart." Not really that scratches matter, but it's always good to have some kind of rubber mat just to cover your bare metal. Power mirrors work. I'll show you. Power everything works. And as slow as it seems, they're not terrible for road use. So, yeah. 1994, or I should say 9th gen 4x4 F-150s actually used the same axle as the 80 to 91 F-150s, and it was the Dana 44 twin traction beam axle. Meanwhile, the rear axle was the Ford 8.8 inch straight axle. because of the way the nose of the 9th Gen F-150 was shaped, they deemed it the aero nose. Ford had aerodynamics in mind. They didn't want a literal brick like the 8th Gen was. So that's why the aero nose has that name, because it's more aerodynamic. Well, one of the things that is not uncommon in the automotive world is to replace the engine variants and options when a new generation of vehicle comes out, and that is exactly what Ford did with the 9th Gen F-150. The 4.9 liter inline 6 was available, the 5 liter V8 was available, and so was the 5.8 liter V8. If I had a choice, I'd have picked the 5.8, but I like the 302. So unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, that is all we have time for. Thank you very much for watching today. Hopefully this video is a lot better than the last review that I did, and hopefully it spurs the decision on the truck that you're going to buy next, whether it be an F-250, a 350. Hopefully you decide on the OBS of your dreams. And until the next video, I will see you guys sometime.